Sorry, guys. Oh my God, it's really awesome to be here. Thanks everyone, and thanks Mac and Dash for inviting me. This is cool. I can't see you from here, I'm sorry. Kind of blind. All right, we got it. Lucho is here, amazing. So I want to tell you guys a story that it's my story, you know? So it's like how I interact with all the no's I got from life and how that helped me to shape state. So I had a dream to have a studio to speak at conferences, and now here I am, you know? So it's gonna be painless, don't sleep, stay with me. Hearing, understanding, giving, accepting, or not is a rich knowledge. So I wanna take a minute to talk about all these people here. These are the people that helped me to build my studio. Okay, so instead of giving credits for them at the end, I want you guys to give a round of applause to all these guys. So I want you guys to watch this presentation with them in mind, even if I talk even if I cuss a little bit, so it's not on them, it's on me. So, and then I have a message for the studios that you guys don't give credits to people. You guys suck. Give credits to artists, okay? Stop with that. I know who you are. I know who you are, okay? Because we post stuff on our website, and then all of a sudden my animators are like, oh, I got 5 emails from studios. I'm like, motherfuckers, all right. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is my first identity crisis, which is really weird. My last name is not Ziul, it's a lie, you know? My last name is Pereira, which is Portuguese, but it's so hard to say, right? And what I did is I started doing like graffiti and tagging walls in Brazil. And I chose my dad's wall. Like he had a business, and I'm like, I want to tag my dad's wall, you know? He's not going to notice. So what I did, I inverted my middle name, which is Luis. So it came out Ziul. And then he would get so pissed and came to me. He's like, oh, dude, what's going on? This Ziul is tagging my wall all the time. Gotta paint. And then before my dad passed, I told him, I'm like, Dad, I have to say something to you. That was me. He's like, you suck. So it was really interesting, like how I was struggling with like who I was, you know, because I went to school to be a doctor. You know, I went to med school to be a guy who was helping people with their health. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I hate this. I hate all the blood and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, no, let's do motion graphics. So this story is about connecting the dots. I know this is very cheesy, whatever, but it is. It's important to understand where you are and how you got there. So in the end, it all makes sense, okay? And I wanted you guys to hear all the story about my life. And maybe it's going to piss you off. Maybe it's going to inspire you. As long as you feel something, I'm cool. Mission is accomplished. So I turned disadvantage into my advantage. And sometimes people won't understand you. And that's fine. You know, no one needs to understand you. If everyone is like agreeing with you, something is wrong. So have an opinion, have a point of view. And that's okay. If you piss off 49% of the people that you talk, it's okay. You know, 51 still loves you. So stay there. Okay, let's talk about the beginning. I started my career in a small town called São José dos Campos, which is like 50 miles from São Paulo. And it's a kind of like medium-sized town, like about like 800,000 people. Super redneck, like really conservative. Every time I go there, like some of the guys come to me, they're, are you gay? I'm like, why, dude? Like, what's the problem? You know, like, what's the conception here? It's like, no, this funny shoes, man. Only gay people use them. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that's so disgusting. Well, that reflects the president that we have in Brazil, which is a piece of shit. So, the city I grew up, it's super like conservative, but it was very important in my story because I started there doing, like as a cable guy, you know, like I was the guy who was like doing the cabling for cameras. So I was doing all of that. And then I would stay, late night to sort of like help the guys do the edit or even like to learn how they were doing. So I was changing like, the price tag on like Coca-Cola for like $1.99 to like, like those commercials. So I was doing all of that. So the beginning was very funny. But I got pissed. I'm like, dude, is this the life? Now after a year, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to move to São Paulo, right? Big city. So then I moved to São Paulo. It was like, oh my God, São Paulo. You know what I went to do in São Paulo? Change prices for a bigger company. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. But at that point, I put together a business plan. It's so weird. I got home one day, I was so frustrated. I put together a business plan to the studio executive producer. And then the next day I got there, I say, hey, I have this business plan here because I think we can do bigger stuff and cooler stuff. I want to do all these motion graphic stuff. He's like, oh man, that's cool, I'll get back to you. So a month goes by, never talked to me. So one day I'm like, hey, can I talk to you? He goes, yeah, come over. He's like, oh man, I want to talk to you about that. He started saying to me that he was going to talk to me about my PDF. And I said, before you start, I'm out. It took you 1 month to answer to me, dude? I'm quitting. So the day that I quit, I went to Rio de Janeiro, which is, oh my God, I went to work for the best, and biggest, I would say not the best, but the biggest production company in Rio. And it was hell. Oh my God, I got there, they were like, okay, this is your team. You're gonna be like, you're gonna lead this team. And I was like, I don't have experience to do all of that. Like, but oh, sure, I can do it. And it was so weird because I worked 6 months without a weekend, straight. And then I thought, dude, is this the life that I want? So this is it. I looked at my boss, I'm like, this guy shows up on a meeting, smoking weed, talking to me, like not respectful. I mean, no words, like, it's okay to smoke weed, but not in the meeting with other people. And I'm like, they're making so much money, they're seeing a bunch of whatever. So every time you talk to an artist and then you say whatever, he's gonna treat your project with whatever. So I was like, this is the end. So I'm gonna be like this, guys. And I'm like, no, fuck no. Get out of here. I don't wanna be like these dudes. I start getting pissed off. So that was the first time. So I think I heard Steve saying the ego yesterday, and I agree with him at a certain degree. Ego, to me, is important. Having an ego, it protects you from from being weak sometimes. You don't have to get your ego to be so big that you're bigger than people, but having ego is fine. And that was my ego talking to me, like, you don't want to be like this guy. You wanted to, like, get out of here. So then, I landed in LA. I sent a bunch of portfolios, I was like, hey, I'm Brazilian. My accent. It's awesome. So then I landed in LA, did 3 interviews. I put together a bunch of I used to create fake little projects, with MTV logos, right? It's hot. And they don't know if that's true or not. They can just put in your portfolio. They're like, that's maybe MTV. So it was pretty cool because I sent that portfolio and then I was in LA for a week. I stayed in Hollywood at a hostel. And I was like, oh, it's a hostel. I got there, it was nasty, horrible. But then I was so happy. I'm like, okay, this is a new start. This is a new life, and this is going to be awesome. So I was hired. They did my visas. For those who don't understand what this is, it sucks. Going through immigration process is ridiculous. I didn't know until then. I didn't know that we had so much taxes in the U.S. I'm like, when I got my first paycheck, I'm like, what the hell is this? I need to work on weekends to help. But so LA was really important. So I stayed with this company, which is called Belief, for 2 years until they sold the company to another investors. So it was pretty interesting staying there. I remember my first day, the guy came to talk to me. He explained me the animation, and all I said was okay, because I was so nervous. And for foreigners sometimes, if you're, very nervous, you don't understand English. You're just saying, okay. And so he gave me the instruction. I'm like, I don't even know what he said. I'm just looking like, how can I animate this? So that process of starting very nervous to getting out of Belief, ready to take on the industry as a freelancer was so important. But then I said, okay, I need now, talking about my ego, I'm in the ego land. LA, bro, are you kidding me? Eric, you tell me. It's terrible. Everyone has like a big ego, right? Oh my God, Lamborghinis and all that shit. They're all like paying they have car payments and everything. It's ridiculous. So I was like, okay, if I want to strive here, I need to take it easy and have no ego. It's okay for a while. I need to understand the process. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna cope with it, and then I'm gonna, make it happen. So the start of like a belief, I remember the first day was like tracking. They're like, oh, this is a new guy. He can do tracking. I'm like, I don't know tracking. Are you kidding me? I was like doing cool projects in Brazil, and now I'm here tracking? Sure, okay, I will track for you, whatever. Rotoscope or whatever. I was just gaining their trust. They needed to trust me that I could do projects. That's fine. So when I moved on to being a freelancer, I landed, I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna say, I worked at Prologue. For guys who don't know who they are, they're an awesome studio with an awful attitude. They're just awful. There was just like, everyone is crying. Everyone is like, it was like a disaster. It felt like I was working at a zombie land. Everyone working. Dude, my last day at Prologue was 42 hours straight. Yeah. So you're almost dying. You're like, and they're like pushing you, hey, we got a post, man, what's up? I'm like, dude, it's been 36 hours. I'm stinking right now. I need to go take a shower. So, but for me, it was important being there. I was like, okay, I'm learning what sucks and I don't want to be. So this is great. So I wanted to show you guys a project from 2010. And just after seeing all the Sarah, like everyone's project, this will suck, but I want to show you. Because this was like the project that put me in the map as a freelancer.
In that break, my break is fast.
All right. You guys are so nice. This is old as hell. Okay, and the movie's awful. It was so hard to convince my friends to stay until the end so they can watch it's like, it's not the main titles, it's the main on end. So 2 hours later, everyone's asleep. I'm like, that's what I did, So we did this in 15 days, and I was like, dude, this is horrible, I need to change this. So I said no. I'm like, I don't want to be this weirdo freelance jumping around. Because I checked my portfolio, and it was a bunch of cool projects with like a lot of people. I'm like, I don't have voice here. I was looking, I'm like, this is like everywhere. So I started doing projects with friends, and that is fun. Because I worked with like some of my best friends, and we were like, okay, let's get projects. And then we would get a project, go to a work together, do all of that. So, I wanted to just keep going. I'm like, okay, let's get one after another. Let's build a studio, right? Like, we're doing this. And this friend of mine, like super good friend of mine, he's like, oh man, I want to be a director. I'm like, oh, but what kind of director? Like movie directors? Yeah. But you do motion graphics, dude. No one's going to trust you. Look, you're in Hollywood. There's a director in every Starbucks in here. Like, come on. You got to work on like movies. But he's like, oh, I want to be a director. Okay, so you're so wishy-washy. There's another friend of mine. He had a dream of work at Buck. And I'm like, dude, Screw that, like let's do our buck. Like why are we going to work for someone else? Like let's do our studio. This can be cool. I mean, I love Buck, don't get me wrong, guys. Wait a second. Every project's but I was like, no, I don't have the desire of working there. That's cool, it's Buck, but I want to do my thing, So I was like, maybe I should move on from this. So I have the green card story, which shaped my life. So I was like, okay, I'm done. Fucking friends, I want to move. I want to go to New York. All right, so let's move to New York. But before we got to do our green card, I told my wife, I'm like, hey, we got to do this before they kick us out of the country. Sure. So for the green card, for those who don't know, you have to get letters from people, like to vouch for you that you're awesome. They're like, hey, not that I'm awesome. I'm just saying, like, just lie a little bit about me, that, so the immigration can trust me. And I called this guy at NFL Network, Carlos. He was the VP of design, and I said, and Carlos, look, I'm doing my green card. I need a letter stating that you try to hire me as a creative director. He never responded to email for 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my God. Lawyers are calling me. They're like, dude, we got to send your application. So I sent an email again. He goes, hey, can you come here in 1 hour? Sure. So I was freelancing at a studio. I'm like, hey, I got to step out for 2 hours. I can stay late tonight. I just need to go somewhere. So I went to NFL Network. I get there. He started talking to me about projects. Hey, we have the Super Bowl. We have draft. We have this. We can give you the project. I'm like, what is he talking about? I don't want any project. I want the freaking letter. I want to get out of here. I don't want to work for sports. It's fine. And he's explaining that. I'm like, okay. He's like, okay, I'll talk to you in a month. I'm like, no, dude. I'm here for the letter. Can you give it to me? He's like, what letter? I'm like, bro, check your email. He's like, oh, okay. No, I didn't know. I thought you wanted projects. I'm like, no. I just want your signature on this thing. But sure, yeah, call me, whatever. So I left NFL, and he calls me. And then he's like, hey, I have a project for you. And the project was awesome. We did the first project. We did the second project. I did the third project, all from home, working with people. All of a sudden, we get draft, which is the biggest package that they had. No pitch. They're like, here we go. It's your project. And he goes, by the way, your friend that works here as a producer, Joe Nash. For those who work at Buck, he's an executive producer at Buck now. Right? So they stole Joe Nash. So Joe Nash is leaving NFL, so you guys should talk, and maybe he produces for you. So then he gave us 15 days to put a studio together because Carlos needed to take his boss to my studio. Oh my God, so Joe Nash, you go buy a computer, get a bunch of Mac Minis, put it here. I asked friends, I asked some of my friends to be there, pretending that they were working. So NFL showed up and it felt like a real studio. Sorry, Carlos, I love you, man, but it was a lie. But anyways, so it was so awesome seeing friends. Do you guys know Ariel Costa? Blink my brain. He's one of my best friends. And then I call him and say, hey, is your wife working? He says, no. Can she come here pretend that she's a designer? She's there. So really cool. So State was born out of the freaking blue. I didn't want to have a studio. I wanted to move to New York. So it was so awesome, scary. So I start feeling like shit, vulnerable. I'm like, oh my God, this is so annoying. I feel like it's a naked feeling. When imagine Mac put me here naked in front of you guys, I'll be like this, trying to get out. I was feeling that way, very anxious. I'm like, okay, now I have a studio. It's not gonna be NFL forever. I need to get other clients. And I wasn't ready for all of that. I'm like, oh my God, this is stressful and everything. So these are all the things that start getting me anxious. I burned all the bridges that I had as a freelancer in one afternoon at ProMax New York. I walk into the event with Marcel at State. And then I'm like, the first guy I see is the owner of a studio. I don't remember. It's like King and Country, one of those. Hey man, what's up? It's like, Marcel, hey, what's the State? I'm like, it's my studio. All right, man, see you later. And I'm like, oh my God, no one is. I was hiding, the credentials, feeling anxious. And then I was like, okay, I can do this. That's fine. Now I need to make it happen. I didn't get paid for a year with state. So that became like a stress. I spent all my savings. I told my wife, we're gonna spend $20,000 to open the studio. I spent all of our savings, so the clock was ticking. And I was like, can I do this? Oh my God, it's that feeling that I was like, okay, we have projects, but the projects are so small that I cannot hire a freelancer. I need to work on the project myself. So it was very weird. And the day that I felt like shit is like when a freelancer came to me. He was working at the studio. He's like, hey, Marcel, can I talk to you? And I go, oh my God, this is the moment, right? Creative director, studio owner. Yeah, man, come in. Hey, dude, we don't have toilet paper anymore. And I'm like, ooh, we gotta go buy some, it was very stressful. So it wasn't fun, but then I had that in mind, yet. It's gonna get fun. So, start rolling with the studio, all good. And then 3 things that was like, some no's that I got, and one yes, that it defined state, which was farming, death, and paternity, all in 2015. Joe Nash comes to me, he goes, dude, I'm moving to Connecticut, crying. Move to Connecticut, I'll be a farmer. I'm like, oh, farmer, are you kidding me? I don't know how to farm. Sure, dude, you go. So he quit. Second one, I get a call, my dad passed away. And I'm like, oh shit, so the guy quits, my dad passes away, I can't go to Brazil because funeral moves so fast. You die today, tomorrow, you're done. They don't hold the body so everyone can gather and do a funeral. It's like, I don't have time to go to Brazil. Sucks, right? So I'll be here, maybe I'll go, whatever. I have nothing to do. And then paternity, my wife comes to me and says, like, hey, you're gonna be a dad. I'm like, oh my God, it's like bunches everywhere, right? It was very weird. I felt like this guy on this animation. So I was like, okay, things cannot get worse, but it did. We booked a project with Joe Nash, his last project. He calls me, he goes, hey, this client wants to do a project. It starts right now. You guys get that email all the time, right? It starts tomorrow, can you do it? Yeah, sure, we need it. Okay. They were like, we're gonna send you a contract. It was Friday, or it was Thursday. We're gonna send you a contract on Monday, but book everyone, it's all good. We didn't have enough savings at the studio, so I booked people. I flew 2 friends of mine from Brazil to work on the project with me. It was crazy. And then Saturday, I got a call. Hey, Marcel, hey, can we talk? Sure. What's the kill fee? Because the project's not happening. I'm like, bro, I booked everyone, knowing that you're gonna that the project was happening. Hey, he's like, oh, I can give you a kill fee. I'm like, I was so pissed. But it ended up that he told my client, which is a good friend of mine, what good friends, right? Hey, give me a project and take it away from next day. But he gave me the project that we were booked. It was so bad. It was an invite for CEOs in Palm Springs. It was a terrible project, right? And then he's like, I'll give you the project, right? So he gave me, it's not on my presentation, but he gave me the FIFA Women's World Cup project, which put state on the map as as a studio. So that first no, it's not happening. I was like, so I accepted, and then I got a better project. So it wasn't the right opportunity. I just had to accept. So I was trying to get out of that vibe, and then the people that I booked, they were all in the studio, and I said, wow, guys, can you do a project for NFL? Let's create a project, right? I pretended that it was a real project, but it wasn't. It was a spec project because I had the artist booked. So we did a project to NFL because I wanted to show them that we could do more than the 3D, bro, 3D. I was like, I shot some of the players in Indianapolis, and I was like, I can put graphics around them, I can do some cool stuff. So I wrote the script, I got them, I edited on Sunday, and on Monday when all the artists showed up, and then I showed them this.
I've been here forever inside my dreams, but I worked hard. All paths led me to this moment, always rushing with a weight on my shoulders. Some say I'm just a college boy that got lucky. I say I'm hungry. When things get tough, I get tougher. I already feel my skin getting thicker every single game. You'll scream my name, I'ma let my beast out.
So I got to the guys, I'm like, hey, we're doing this. This is a cool project. Everyone's like, oh man, what is this? But I had the vision. I'm like, it can look really cool. Let's do it together. So we start working on it, and it was a bunch of like good artists. So we did the spot in like 3 weeks that I booked them. So let me play the spot.
I've been here forever, inside my dreams. I worked hard. All paths led me to this moment. Always rushing, with a weight on my shoulders. Some say I'm just a college boy who got lucky. I say I'm hungry. When things get tough, I get tougher. I already feel my skin getting thicker. Every single game. You'll scream my name. I'ma let my beast out.
So it's a funny story, right? So I showed this project to NFL. I'm like, hey, Carlos, can I go show you a spot? I get there. I'm like, okay, music and everything, let's play. He watches and he's like, dude, no. This is not us. Thank you so much. Later. And I was like, oh my God, this is a huge no. I spend money. He hates it. And I asked him, can I put it online? He's like, yeah, sure. So then we got Lakers, Nike, and Dave because of that. So it was a big no. But in 2 years or 3 years, I was able to recoup that because I restructured the strategy of doing something. So no, in that point, became a huge yes for us. But even though I was very kind of like depressed, right? So I was like, okay, look at all these studios. Oddfellow is so awesome. Giant Ant. We're like this stinky fish, we're awful. They're so awesome because I was very uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh, Gunner, oh my God. I'm not on Stash. Look at Instagram. So I did something for myself. First thing, I unfollowed every studio myself. I'm like, I'm not going to check their Instagram because it makes you depressed, right? Like, it's like Sarah yesterday. She showed that beautiful project that she's healing. Now I got to do a project to heal from her project. All right? It looks beautiful, by the way. I will never be able to do that. So just want to say. But yeah, so I was very feeling all these questions and everything, and I'm like, okay, it's uncomfortable, but uncomfortable is good. I was like, this is a weird feeling, but I kind of like it because I can look at we could look at state and everyone is uncomfortable, but it's easy to come in here and show the projects and be like, yeah, man, no worries. We worked for Google and everything was awesome, all of that. Dude, it stinks. It's bad. I stay up late and I eat all the goldfish for my kids. It's terrible. It's uncomfortable. But I felt great. I'm like, okay, so I understood that being uncomfortable was very important for me. And what I put my energy on was to build the voice and the purpose of the studio. I'm like, let's fuck everyone else. Let's just focus on state. Let's tell people who we are. Let's not just put a website out there and say, hey, we have a new website. Let's do something. Let's work on the positioning. Let's get deep. So we put together the first manifesto about the studio, and it went out like this.
Yeah, we've pretty much been on fire since day one. Even though we're Angelinos, it doesn't make us beach bums. Most of the time, we're turning ideas into moving pixels and keyframes. It keeps us eager, like a kid ready to get down on the best fried pastry in town. We learned that being wise was better than being big. That's how we became a well-oiled machine, ready to take on the near impossible, every day, every frame, all over again.
So when we put that together, it was very important for me because I was like, okay, I'm focusing on myself. And then I saw the reaction. We did an interview, a motionographer, right? It's like, oh my God, motionographer. And we did interview, we were on Stash, and I was like, this feels right. We're focusing on the important things. I don't want to be I don't want to be like Oddfellas. I don't want to be like Giant Ant. I don't want to be like Buck. I want to be State. We are this. And then it was very easy for me to make that, that move and be in that mindset. And then, and people can be weird about it. LA, as I said, is a weird-ass city, People on the freeway, they all hate each other, but they all smile at you. It's like you see producers like on the phone, they're like, hey, and then they're like, I hate this guy. And then that happens all the time. It's very weird. And then I felt I wasn't like welcoming. I'm not part of a club. There's let's be honest, there's a little like club of motion graphics. I was never part of it, I was the weirdo Brazilian guy, working around. So I felt it wasn't like welcoming. So what we did, I was like, let's create a response to the industry. Let's tell them who we are. Let's create a conference where everyone can gather and we can get together. So I start calling all my competitors and say, hey guys, come over. I'm putting together this conference. And they were like, oh my God, is he putting a conference? Is he trying to sell more than us? I'm like, no, dude, forget about the business stuff. Let's come here, let's celebrate. So we create the R&D LA to give voice to people. If you guys are ever in LA, it's gonna start again. It's an in-person event for free. We put together 150 to 200 people at the Ace Hotel every month. And then we fly in a speaker to talk about their process, their lives, and everything. So really awesome to define the no that I was getting from people and turn that into a response. And that gave me much more confidence. Okay, accepting no. Suck it up and learn from it. Sometimes you're gonna hear a no from a client, and that's fine. And I'll show you a piece that FX never invited us to be part of. They did a pitch. It went wrong. They called me. They're like, oh, the pitch went wrong. I wanted you to really help us to define this, but I give you a few days. So can you make it happen? Instead of having that ego, oh, you never called me in first place. I'm like, no, I can help out. Let's do it. So we did this spot here that ended up being super cool.
Sometimes I feel like people only see me as this larger-than-life icon, but I'm just a normal guy. Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Woo. Do you want to know what the industry is like? What a strange life I have. Got me tripping like, whoa, whoa. Dave, you're a rapper? Oh, no. About movements looking like Dippin' Dots. Probably because I don't eat fruits and vegetables. Approached by aggressive white man on the regular. I gotta record with a neck pillow on my neck because the ergonomics on my desk ain't right. My nose gets stuffed every night. I'm fidgety. I twitch. I'm fidgety. I'm venerotic. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave. Please watch.
So it was really important for me to not let that ego to say no to FX. I said, dude, that's fine. Let's do it together. And we got a lot of projects because of that project. So really cool. And I want to talk real quick about this. Vetting projects is life. Saying no to project is important. It's really important. So you start analyzing and then, see if the project is good or not for you. Don't be afraid of saying no. I say no a lot, and the reason why, I'm going to show you a video, and I will tell you guys a story after that. that project that you guys saw came because I said no to a project that, popped up. I'm like, dude, it doesn't feel right. Let's just pass. And my EP was like, are you passing on this project? I'm like, yeah, we're going to pass on it. And he's like, but we don't have anything on the schedule for you after that. I'm like, something's going to happen. And then that was the project that happened, which is super cool. I was so happy that I said no to the other one. So fighting negativity. This is important. Defines the culture. You have a lot of downers, right, at the studio. So you're like, I don't want to do this. This project is bad, and blah, blah, blah. So we identified that, and I said, well, there's a way to fight that. Create a safe environment for your team to fail, and don't blame them. It's okay to fail. I fail all the time. I make bad decisions. Sometimes I'm like, okay, ask for a change, and it sucks. But I have that space, and everyone can fail. So the reason why I'm saying this, because this project that I'm going to show you was a project that a lot of people a lot of producers that were working with us, they're like, no, we can't do this project. I'm like, you guys are too negative. Think about what the project can do. So we did a project for Google, and it was like that project got my heart, like in so many ways, because it's called Black on Friday. It's about Black Friday become the Black on Friday to support Black-owned businesses. And one of the parameters that we got was like, we have to work with Black art directors. So I was able to find an art director in my home country in Brazil who, like, he has never seen, the light or anything. He works for a small agency, but to me, that project gave me more passion and love about what I do, that I can let other people to take the main stage. So when I saw the credits of the spot, and he was there with Wyclef Jean from the Fugees. It was right next to it, and a guy that no one has ever heard that makes, like, I don't even know, like $500 a month working at an agency. And I saw his name. It was so great. So I turned that negativity into something much bigger than what it is. Let's take a look.
Black Friday, they say spend for less. We say take your hard-earned dollars to a Black-owned business. Oh, it's the season to show up and show love. Black Friday, it's Black-owned Friday on November 27th. It ain't Black Friday. Yeah. It's Black-owned Friday.
November 27th is Black-owned Friday. Make an impact by shopping with Black-owned businesses.
Cool. Okay, let's speed things up. So losing pitches, that's a misconception. You never lose a pitch because you never had the project. You did not get the project. Take that mentality out of your, mindset. You never lose a pitch. But sometimes there's something positive about not getting a project because you went on a competition or whatever, and then you didn't get it, and then you feel like, oh my God, do I suck, and what the heck? So what I did is, this is a collection of our failures. So we did a lot of projects that we don't get. American Horror Story. It's cool, but no. And Porsche, we're pretty safe, no. And then Target and some other projects. We decide to go in a different direction. Simpsons, we'll keep you in mind for the next one. Xbox, nah, they changed their mind. Just accept. That's what my EP said to me. I'm like, this is such a bullshit. No, I don't accept this. Are you kidding me? This is weird. We lost the pitch. We put so much effort. I suck. What the heck? What I did, I called 4 creative directors that I trust. And I said, guys, they're competitors too. I said, guys, fuck state for a second, whatever. This is Marcel asking for help. I lost 5 pitches in a row. Do I suck? Can you take a look at my presentations and see what I'm missing? It's not that we're trying to steal project from each other. I just need help. So because I got those no's, I had the chance of rethink about my creative process, which was so important. And then because I got so vulnerable with them, and they gave me so many different tips of what I have to change in my workflow. And I was like, okay, now I accept. That's fine. I learned something. But this is a project that I want to show to you guys, and I'll tell you the story right after.
信行です。折り紙の楽しさを世界中にシェアしています。僕人見知りだと思います。なんか話のきっかけとして折り紙を持ち出す時っていうのはありますよね。最初は母が作った折り紙を触って見えなくても一つ一つ折り目を手で確認しながら自分でも折ってみたいなと思うようになりました。人からいただいたやつを自分で開いて折り方を研究したりとか、自分のペースで勉強できるように YouTube で動画を探してみたりしています。でも画面は見えないので Google Pixel を使うときは Android のトークバッグが指で触れたところをアナウンスします。
折り紙くす玉。今日は皆さんと一緒に折り
そうやっていろいろ作っていくうちに他の人にも作品を見せたくなって、このトークバッグのガイドを聞きながら操作して自分で作った折り紙の写真を撮ってシェアしています。自分が楽しいと思ったことをみんなにも知ってほしくて、ピクセルでトークバッグを使えば見えなくてもこんな風に折り紙ができるよ、こんな楽しい作品があるよということが伝えられるからと思います。
So, because I lost pitch, right? I never had it. Because we didn't get those projects, thank God, I was able to take on this spot. At first, I was like, oh my God, we didn't get those projects. We all suck, blah, blah, blah. So, 2 positive points. I was able to question my process, and also it opened the space for something more, meaningful to happen, which is this project is about a blind person that makes origamis, which is insane. I was very happy about it. So evolving, people are like, okay, what's state? State's constantly evolving. I had a podcast with Mac the other day. I said, we are like the queens of the Stone Age. Sometimes we play in a big venue, sometimes we play at a bar. We don't know, and that's what's cool about it. I don't want the studio to lose the soul. We're just gonna go with the flow, enjoy the process. So I want to show you the evolution of our message to the people out there and how we managed to talk about our evolution through a video.
Once upon a time, we were obsessed with finding our style. Everyone said, find your thing and get good at it. Okay, but once we found that thing, then what? Standardize, streamline, and nope, we are not gonna listen to them, the dinosaurs and the same old shit crew. No, there is a greater quest afoot, the making cool stuff quest, diving headfirst into the impossible and totally failing, but then not failing. So when they ask, yo, State, what's your style? We'll tell them.
It's very chaotic, right? But creativity is chaotic. So I said no to producers who try to put structure on my creative process. Say no, it's chaotic and it's supposed to be like this. Some creatives can be more organized. Me and Lucho, we're terrible. We're like, dude, it's chaos. We try to manage the chaos, but I respect that. And instead of getting anxious about my chaos, I just cope with it. And then ideas can start, coming. And there's positivity in no, it's fine. You take it, reflect about it, maybe say no, kick it up again. There's a saying, there's a music in Brazil that runs, that I run my life using that music as an example that says, stand up and walk. So it's called levante e anda, which is like, just every time you take a hit, just levante e anda, just, stand up and go. So as long as we have the right people, we're connected to our heart, we keep our heads up. You know, State always has a soul to fight, accept, deal, say no. That makes us bigger, so everyone can trust in the process. And if State gets too big, we scale it down because we don't want to lose our soul. Thank you.
Os moleque é zica. Os molecote da quebrada no rolê. Zica. Pode chamar que é nós, tamo envolvido nessa fita. Quando ouve o pancadão, nego, não desacredita. Põe os grave pra bater, me diz aí como é que fica. Zica. Vem daquele jeito que elas querem. Liberdade desse mundo pra curtir com vagabundo. Nato, todo malado, que bate o pé. Põe no copo São Tomé, e aí? Polícia sai do pé. Chapa, vi os moleque passar. Tem uns descendo o escadão e outros já tão na praça. Quem é que vai buscar o drink? Aqui tem duas onças. Vamos brindar esse rolê mantendo a responsa. E as mina grita.